if one of the biggest threats to your independence isn't heart disease, cancer, or even aging itself? What if it's a fall? Every year, millions of adults over 65 experience a fall. For some, it's a bruised ego. For others, it's a broken hip, a traumatic brain injury, months of rehabilitation, or the loss of independence that's spent a lifetime building. The scary part, most falls don't start when someone hits the ground. They start years earlier, when balance begins declining, when strength begins fading, when power starts disappearing. And most people don't even realize it's happening. So today I'm going to explain the three systems that create balance, when balance actually starts to decline, why standing on a Bosu ball may not be helping you as much as you think, and why strength and power may be the real keys to preventing falls and protecting your independence. Because the goal isn't simply avoiding a fall. The goal is protecting the life that fall could take away. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Chris, I don't need a podcast on falling. Maybe you're active. Maybe you're healthy. Maybe you're still working. Maybe you're golfing, gardening, traveling, walking every day. Good. Good for you. That's exactly who needs to hear this. Because the biggest mistake people make about falls is believing falls happen to other people. And they don't. After 35 years of coaching adults, I've learned something important. People are rarely afraid of the fall itself. They're afraid of what comes after: the loss of confidence, the loss of independence, the loss of freedom, the possibility that life may never quite be the same again. And unfortunately, those fears aren't unfounded. According to the CDC, more than 14 million adults over the age of 65 report falling every year. More than 1 in 4 adults will experience a fall annually. A fall spends approximately 3 million older adults to emergency departments every year. More than 1 million are hospitalized. Falls remain a leading cause of injury related to deaths amongst older adults. Let that sink in for a moment. We spend a lot of time worrying about cholesterol. We worry about blood pressure, we worry about blood sugar, yet one of the greatest threats to an older adult's independence can happen in less than 2 seconds. A single misstep, a missed curb, a slip on wet pavement, a stumble going down the stairs. For some people, it's a bruised ego and a good story. For others, it's a broken hip, a traumatic brain injury, surgery, months of rehabilitation, loss of mobility, loss of confidence, and loss of independence. Studies show that many older adults never fully regain their previous level of function after a serious fall. That's why this conversation matters. And not because I'm trying to scare you, because I want you to understand what's at stake. Fall prevention isn't about avoiding a scraped knee. It's about protecting your ability to continue living life on your terms. Now, before we go any further, I want to make something clear. Most falls don't start the day someone hits the ground. They begin years early. And that's where today's conversation really starts. One of the biggest myths about aging is that balance suddenly disappears. It doesn't. Balance starts declining long before most people notice it. Research suggests that the vestibular function, one of the major systems responsible for balance, begins declining around age 40. Muscle mass begins declining as early as our 30s. Power begins declining even faster than strength as we move through middle age. Proprioception, our body's awareness of where it is in space, gradually becomes less effective. The problem is that these changes don't happen overnight. The problem is they happen slowly. You become a little less steady, a little slower, a little weaker. You start grabbing the handrail. You stop moving as quickly. You become more cautious stepping off the curb. You avoid uneven ground. You don't even realize it's happening until one day you do. And then people say, I guess I'm just getting older. But often what they're experiencing isn't simply aging, it's years of untrained decline. The good news? Many of these systems can be improved. But first, we need to understand what balance actually is. So here's the three systems that create balance. And most people think of balance as one thing. It isn't. Balance is actually the result of three different systems working together. The first system is our visual system. Your eyes are constantly feeding information to your brain about where you are relative to you are around the world. If you've ever tried walking through a dark room and felt less steady, you're experiencing the importance of vision. The second system is our vestibular system. This system lies in your inner ear. Think of it as your body's built-in motion detector. It helps your brain understand movement, acceleration, head position, and changes in direction. The third system is your somatosensory system, often called proprioception. This is information coming from your feet, ankles, muscles, joints, tendons, and connective tissues. It's how your brain knows where your body is at without having to look. Right now, you know where your feet are. You know where your hands are. You know whether you're sitting or standing. That's proprioception. Good balance occurs when all three systems work together efficiently. When one system declines, your brain relies more heavily on the others. When two or three declining simultaneously, that's when the problem becomes more noticeable. And that's why balance training matters. Not because you're trying to get better at standing on one foot, because you're trying to maintain the systems that allow you to move confidently through life. So here's one of the biggest balance mistakes I want to talk about today. It's a misconception in the fitness industry. Somewhere along the way, people started associating balance training with standing on unstable surfaces. That would be Bosu balls, balance discs, wobble boards. And while those tools can be useful in certain rehabilitation settings, they're often overused when the goal is improving real world balance and reducing fall risk. Here's the problem. Most falls happen on stable ground. They happen on sidewalks and parking lots, on stairs, in kitchens, in the living room floor, not while standing on a Bosu ball. Researchers such as Gregory Meyer and others have repeatedly shown that unstable surface training significantly reduces your force production because your body is focused on staying on the equipment rather than producing meaningful muscular effort. So in plain English, just plain English here, okay? You simply cannot get as strong standing on a Bosu as you can standing on solid ground. Some studies have even reported reductions in force production ranging from roughly 30 to 70%, depending on the exercise being performed. And that's important because strength is one of the biggest predictors of whether you'll be able to recover from a stumble. If I trip over a curb, my body doesn't need practice standing on a wobble board. It needs the strength to catch me. My body needs the power to move quickly. My body needs the coordination to take the recovery step. The research generally shows that unstable surface training improves performance on unstable surface tasks. In other words, if you practice standing on a Bosu ball, you'll get better at standing on a Bosu ball. But that doesn't necessarily translate into better everyday movement, better walking mechanics, strength, better power, or fewer falls. Which raises a simple question. Why spend most of your training time practicing a skill we rarely use? We will never use, most of us, the skill on standing on a Bosu ball better or a wobble board. At Y.E.S Fitness, we'd rather help people become stronger, more capable, and more resilient in the environment where they actually live. Because life doesn't happen on a Bosu ball. Life happens when you miss a step. Life happens when the dog pulls unexpectedly. Life happens when you catch your toe on a curb. Life happens when you slip on a wet floor. In all those moments, strength and power matter far more than your ability to balance on a piece of equipment. So here's the missing people most never train. They don't think about doing this. And now I believe this is overlooked component of all fall prevention, and it's power. People go to the gym, they lift weights, but are they developing power? Most people understand strength. Few people understand power. Strength is your ability to produce force. Power is your ability to produce force quickly. And when it comes to preventing falls, quick matters. Imagine you're walking through a parking lot. Your toe catches a crack in the pavement. You start to stumble. The question isn't, how much can you leg press? The question is, can you move your foot fast enough to catch yourself? Can you take a recovery step quickly enough? Can you generate force rapidly enough to stop your body from hitting the ground? That's power. And research consistently shows that power declines earlier and faster than strength. Some researchers estimate power may decline nearly twice as fast. Twice as fast. That is huge. Because falls happen in fractions of a second. Your body doesn't get 5 seconds to decide where you're going to fall. It's a fraction of a second. You react or you don't. And that's why I've become such a believer in power training. Not because I want people jumping onto boxes. Not because I want people training like athletes. Because I want them to stay independent. Balance alone doesn't prevent falls. Strength and power are what save you when balance fails. Let me say that again. Balance alone doesn't prevent falls. Strength and power are what save you when balance fails. Now, when people hear the words power training, they often picture Olympic lifting, box jumps, and 20-year-old athletes. It's not what we're talking about here. Power training for athletes over 40, 50, 60, 70, beyond can be incredibly practical. Just standing up from a chair quickly. Step-ups performed with speed and control. Medicine balls, one of my favorites, medicine balls. Fast marching drills, quick direction changes, controlled kettlebell swings. Even moving the lift portion of a strength exercise with intention and speed. The goal isn't recklessness, the goal is responsiveness. Teach the body to react. Teach the body to move. Teaching the body to recover. At Y.E.S Fitness, we train power every week, every phase. Every workout has power component to it because life requires power every day. And we just learned it may even decline twice as fast as strength. Every time you climb stairs, every time you step over something, every time you get out of a chair, every time you catch yourself from a stumble, every time you change direction quickly, power is there. And if you don't train it, you lose it. So let me talk a little about what we do at Y.E.S Fitness. One of the things I love most about our approach at Y.E.S Fitness is that we don't separate balance from everything else. Because life doesn't separate balance from everything else. We constantly challenge the systems that keep people capable. We work on strength. We work on mobility. We work on coordination. We work on reaction. We work on balance. We work on power. We challenge the visual system. We challenge the vestibular system. We challenge your proprioception. Sometimes it's through walking drills. Sometimes it's through strength training. Sometimes it's through carrying weight. Sometimes it's through changing directions. Sometimes it's through simply helping someone become stronger than they were yesterday. Because our goal isn't helping someone stand on one foot longer. The goal is helping them continue to doing the things they love to do. So here's a little bit of a formula for it, okay? If I had to simply put today's conversation into one formula, it would be this. Balance equals vision plus vestibular function and plus proprioception. Those three things. But fall prevention equals balance plus strength plus power. That's the difference. Many programs focus on balance. We focus on balance, strength, and power because that's what life demands. When people first walk through the doors, they often tell us they want to lose weight or tone up, fit into smaller clothes, all those fine goals, right? That's all cool. But after 35 years, I've learned that what people really want goes much deeper. They want confidence, they want freedom, they want energy, they want independence, they want to feel good. They want to know they can get up and down off the floor with their grandchildren. They want to know they can travel without worrying about keeping up. They want to know they can carry their own groceries, climb up their own stairs, live in their own home. That's huge. Make their own decisions. That's what we're really protecting, because the goal isn't preventing a fall. The goal is protecting the life that could be taken away. The freedom, the confidence, the independence, the ability to continue doing the things you love to do with the people you love. Balance matters. Strength matters. Power matters. And the sooner you begin training them, the better your chances of continuing to live life on your terms. Because independence isn't something you keep by accident. It's something you train for every single week. And that's exactly what we do at Y.E.S Fitness. Remember, exercise is medicine, and when prescribed correctly, it can truly change your life. Thank you so much for listening. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with a friend or family member who could benefit from it. If you need any kind of help with your balance, power, strength, any of that stuff, give us a shout out over here at Y.E.S Fitness. I'm Chris Porter, the host, best-selling author, and thanks for watching. So stay tuned, stay active. I'll see you next week with more information on how to get fit, live, get fit, feel younger, and live better. Have a great night.